On this week's episode, Michael Myers returns to the big screen, the hopes for Star Citizen, and the legacy of Akira on its 35th anniversary. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there being a part of all of our programming. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without, well, the man who wants to be like Akira himself. It is the man behind Humanica Media. You got to check out everything that's going on today at humanicamedia.com. Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend, like I said, the man who aspires to be Akira. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
Yo, I think it's Kaneda that I would like to be with, not be with, be like, because Akira's a god. They never actually like solved that in the movie, huh? We'll get to this, but yeah, Akira's pretty awesome. Anyways, what's up, dude?
I'll take that bike. I'll just take that bike. But it is going to be a great weekend in pop culture, and we just want to talk about everything we can in the next hour. Not only are we going to talk about the big screen return for Michael Myers, talking about the big crowdfunded game called Star Citizen. Want to get everybody up to speed on that one. And we will be talking, yes, later in the show on Akira on its 35th anniversary. I also want to let everybody know that we've got scheduled for today as well. We've got Kevin Eldridge from the Flopcast and Mike Faber from the ESO Network. They're stopping by once again to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and about acts that they thought didn't get their just due, not even a nomination, but those acts that didn't even get blessed with a nomination that should be in already. We're going to share our thoughts on that. Also as well, Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. He's stopping by to talk about Week 7 in the NFL. And I threw a question at him that caught him a little bit off guard in regards to some of the not so best, but the worst teams in the NFL. And if there are any real fantasy football options on any of those bad NFL teams. But first, my friend, it is a great weekend as Halloween, the reboot, the revisited, is coming back on the big screen. It's coming to theaters all across everywhere. This Michael Myers is back. He's got his big knife out to go ahead and do some damage once again. But back as well after many years to the series is Jamie Lee Curtis. This is going to be not necessarily a reboot per se, but it's ignoring any of the previous iterations of Halloween that came after the original 1970s movies. Your thoughts on this latest Halloween reboot type deal and the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis is returning the role, and plus there's a lot of favorable reviews out there for this film, way ahead of schedule. That was very surprising. It came out for reviews this early. Your thoughts on Halloween as it hits theaters a couple weeks before, well, Halloween.
So is it a reboot or I thought it's a sequel, but it's a rebooted sequel.
It's a rebooted sequel. They're ignoring anything from Halloween 2 on, and they're basically obliterating that and just focusing on 35 years after the events of what happened in the original 1970s Halloween movie.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I like the idea that these older franchises can now retcon the entries in between, because wasn't what's his name, Neil Blomkamp, was going to do that with Aliens, right?
Yes, and we are going to see the same thing as well with the next Terminator movie, which is going to take out, like you said, retcon a lot of those Terminator movies that were really bad or just barely made money or anything of that nature, and just basically retcon a lot of them and just start off and just remember the events of Terminator 2, and then anything else that came after it, it's been wiped off the face of the earth. Same thing here with Halloween. It's being wiped out as far as anything after the original Halloween movie.
That's kind of cool. I like that. That it would actually be interesting to see them do that with the Friday the 13th series. I would actually kind of enjoy that because I remember those that franchise got kind of ridiculous, especially with Jason going into space and stuff.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, you know what's weird though? Like, I don't hate that movie nearly as much as I should. It's so bad that it's become so memorable, and I actually consider it like a cult classic cheesy horror movie.
Well, you and I later this month are actually going to pick our top 5 horror movies. Plus, we're going to get on our resident horror expert, Jason Todd Feinberg from Honey Queen, as well, to go ahead and share his thoughts on the subject. But that is for another day.
All right, wrap
Right
it.
now, there is this Halloween movie. Your thoughts on what I talked about actually a few weeks ago, in the fact that Halloween was screened before critics not just a couple days, not just a couple weeks, but over a month before its release date, and it's come out to really strong reviews, which is highly unusual for the horror genre. What are your thoughts on that? Was this a good move? Was this something that you would have done or you would have planned if the movie was already finished that well ahead of time? Do you think that was a smart move by the film company to go ahead and preview and start to get that good word of mouth out for Halloween?
Yeah, for sure. Because what this franchise has been dead for how many years? I want to say at least 10.
Yeah, about that. About that.
No, it's a good idea because honestly, like you make something like this and you don't know how well it's going to do, especially in today's climate. With people don't really like what slasher flicks that much anymore. There hasn't been one in a long time, and when they do come out, people they don't make that much money. But it's kind of smart because Halloween's one of those franchises where it is a female protagonist, and that's kind of what hits big with audiences these days. And a lot of people, I think, they know the legacy of Halloween, but they haven't like gone to actually they sit down to watch them. So I think that this is going to create a lot of interest, not just in this one, but in maybe the old ones too, which is cool because um, it just shows that there is life in old franchise. Like we said a minute ago with Friday the 13th, maybe they can do that. I don't know. They've been talking for years about a new Nightmare on Elm Street, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. But
Oh,
yeah,
don't ever say that, because when you say it won't happen,
it ends up happening. No, it's just I'm glad, and they also have the added benefit too of like what being the only or one of the only horror films out in theaters this Halloween. So good for them.
well, when we broke it down, I think there was what, 4 or 5 only coming out, 4 or 5 horror films that were only scheduled to do out from September on. And while you and Jason Todd Feinberg from Honey Queen both hit it on the head with the Nun on how successful it would be, I was laying a lot of money on Halloween finding success for at least the next 2 weeks, if not a little bit more, because I think Halloween is going to be something that stays around for a little while because of the name and also because of the outstanding reviews it's been getting. It's really done a great job with critics, and also looks to be something that's getting a lot of good buzz in social media early on.
Yeah, like I said, it's good. I wouldn't have just put it out there cold, there, and I'm just kind of just now seeing the trailers for it, but it's good that they went out and they tested it first just to see like how audiences would react because it not just allowed them to see the reaction, but it gave them time to fix anything that they could fix, without having to go into major reshoots. So I think that's a smart business model, especially for if you're reviving a franchise and not putting something out that already has a good reputation, such as like a Marvel flick or a Disney movie or something like that. Like this, again, like this is a franchise that hasn't been seen in 10 years. So it's smart that they did some market research on it before officially releasing it and not being able to, change anything.
This reminds us a lot of about. This reminds me a lot of last year. What happened with it? It came out and did wonders at the box office. It has an amazingly high Rotten Tomatoes score. It did extremely well with critics and fans alike. Could we be seeing the same thing here with Halloween? Because at 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, That is a very, very good score, and especially for a Halloween, for a horror genre flick. That especially that since it's because it's not one that just relies on jump scares and more, like you said, on the old slasher days from back in the day.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. It's again like it has the benefit of having a female protagonist, and she's actually pretty badass. You saw the shotgun in the trailer, and she's like been preparing for this moment. So she's like the Sarah Connor of horror films. So that's cool. That's really cool. And it's a total throwback, and it's something that if you would have gone back to the first Halloween and watched it and thought this franchise will definitely be around 20 years from now, no one would have ever said that. So the fact that there's that and that it's actually scoring well, it's good, man, good. Like I said, hopefully this will help breathe life into some of the other franchises too. Maybe this will put some momentum behind another Alien flick featuring Sigourney Weaver. That would be the dream. So more power to it, man. I don't know if I'm gonna catch it in theaters, but I'll definitely throw some money behind it at some point.
My last question to you is: you said you will throw some money into it at some point. Do you think it will garner anywhere near the type of claim financially that we saw from it last year? Because it is not a movie relying on jump scares. It is more focused on telling a narrative that remembers from 35 plus years ago, and also focuses on other things besides, like I said, jump scares and whatnot. The old slashing type deal, and things that we remember, without hopefully following into those same tropes that we saw over and over again that almost ruined the horror genre.
That's an interesting question because I don't know how I would compare them because they're kind of two different. They're both horror films, but they're two different stories. Like it is more of a packs a more emotional punch, I guess, and it's meant to. Sorry, it's kind of a I don't know, like an emotional and sensory type experience. Whereas Halloween is just kind of your straightforward uh, slasher flicks. So I think that they both do different things, and it was one of those movies where like people are terrified of clowns. So I think it was one of those movies where people were actually kind of dragging their friends or daring their friends to go see it. Whereas Halloween doesn't have that yet. Maybe it will. Maybe maybe once it comes out and word about it gets around. But I think it was one of those movies that like it was one of those people wanted to go see it. There were teenagers trying to sneak into the theater to see it just because of what it was, and it has such a huge following, especially among Stephen King fans and people who they did a great job of marketing that movie too. Their trailers, posters everywhere. Uh, as for Halloween, like I haven't seen that same type of saturation, so I don't know for sure. I don't see it making a whole lot of money, but I see it making enough to maybe hopefully keep the fad going.
And hopefully it will revive the franchise. It's now targeting right around a $60 million opening weekend here domestically, and probably, well, what looking at maybe like 120, 150 million worldwide in its first few days of release. If it gets anywhere near the $300 to $400 million mark, or even more, it should be considered to a big win for uh, a big win for a big win for Universal, because it just accentuates the fact that there is an interest in this type of revisiting or reimagining old horror properties such as It and now Halloween. One last thing I want to ask you, my friend, someone that you've appreciated over the course of time, Danny McBride was involved heavily with the writing along with David Gordon Green, who I believe is directing the flick. Your thoughts on adding that element in there and providing a lot of possible comedy that could actually make it even better for people to watch in between the actual slicing and dicing?
See, I think that's really cool because these were Danny McBride is someone who kind of grew up watching these films, and he's a big fan, kind of like how Seth Rogen grew up when watching Green Hornet or reading Green Hornet or whatever. Uh, yeah, that's
But that
that's
didn't work out so well.
no, it didn't, but it still gives it a sense of relevance. It's able. I think Danny McBride is a good. He plays a lot of stupid characters, but I think he's a good person to bring an old franchise into to modern audiences as far as the writing goes, because like I said, the times are different. You can't just write a movie about a guy with a knife and a mask going around and killing teenage girls. You can't do that anymore. I mean, you can, but it's not going to do so well. You need something that captivates audiences, and whether that's from comedy or just having a well-written script, you have to have somebody who knows what they're doing, because you get someone who is a veteran in Hollywood screenwriting, and they're going to stick to the same tropes, whereas Danny McBride is a good person to come in and mix it up, and hopefully it works out. We'll have to see.
We will indeed, but Halloween hits audiences, but Halloween hits screens for audiences this weekend. Are you looking forward to it? Is everyone out there really want to go ahead and revisit the saga of Michael Myers so many years later, and also to revisit Jamie Lee Curtis's character as well, so many years after the traumatic events of that famous and iconic movie that that really just at that time took the horror genre to a whole new level. Please, if you're interested in seeing it, please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram also. You can also let us know if you're not interested, if you think this is something that's just a cash grab. We want to hear your thoughts both one way or the other. Either way is just cool by us. We just want to hear your thoughts at Pop Culture Cosmos. Coming up next, we've got Mike Faber and Kevin Eldridge. Mike Faber from the ESO Network and Kevin Eldridge from the Flopcast. They're going to share their thoughts on acts that are constantly ignored each and every year that should already be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're going to share all of our thoughts on it coming up right after the break. After that, we've got Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Patriot Podcast previewing Week 7 in the NFL. And, of course, we're coming back on the back end, Josh and I, to talk about Star Citizen. What is this project all about and why it could be really great for gamers? And, of course, a little bit on Akira on its 35th anniversary as well. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald coming right back at you with Josh Peterson. Before we head on out, I got to mention to you, if you can at all, please go ahead today and check our Facebook page to get the link to go ahead and please, if you can, nominate our show, the Pop Culture Cosmos Show, or the PCC Multiverse, or even both, Pop Culture Cosmos / PCC Multiverse, today at the Discover Pods Awards. We have the links available on our social media pages. They're now pinned to the top of our Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, and Humanity Media. They're all pinned. I had to make sure of that. Yes, what can I say? You just go in. If you vote for us for the Best Society and Culture Podcast, or Best Entertainment, or the Best Overall Podcast of 2018, let us know. We'd love to thank you. But even if you do so and you just want to go ahead and do it anonymously, we truly appreciate you taking the time to doing so. It is a big deal for us. We truly appreciate any time we're considered for such an award. Last year, we were nominated for it, and we thought it was just an awesome thing, and we'd hopefully get a chance to do it again. Again, it's the Discover Pods nominations. Please, if you want to get a chance to vote for our show, we will truly appreciate it. Also on the Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source Facebook pages, you'll find a schedule and a listing of our shows which play on radio 7 days a week all around the world, and also also you'll see a listing of many of our podcast networks. My friend, you've got an awesome thing going on with Humanity Media. Come on. We need to hear the info. We need an update. What is going on with everything at Humanica Media?
Good question. Honestly, I was supposed to post a new episode of Topic Ocalypse today, and I completely forgot. So you'll have to forgive me on that one. It'll be up first thing tomorrow. Subject matter is something I don't remember, but for now, you can go to the Humanican Media check out Topic Ocalypse on iTunes, and you can listen to our latest episodes. Some of them featuring trash talking and psychology of it, and education, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So definitely check that out. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. And I thought I was bad trying to remember all of our episodes. My gosh.
Dog, we are at almost to 80 episodes of Topic Ocalypse. Like I there was a time when I could recall everything we've talked about, but now I really I can remember like 3 things.
We're at 90 on this show and 111 on the others.
So that's a lot of podcasting we've been doing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But you can catch the topic. What? What'd you say?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you did. But you can catch his show, the Topic Ocalypse Show, which I've been on a few. It's an awesome show to be a part of. And I probably will remember the episodes that I was on. But you can also catch it today on, like he said, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the other podcast networks, and every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on the Podcast Radio Network. My friend, 2 last things before we head on out. We're going to be talking about Star Citizen and Akira. Just want to give a big thank you also as well to Mike Faber and Kevin Eldridge. Mike Faber of the ESO Network, and Kevin Eldridge of the podcast of the Flopcast. You got to check out their awesome shows that they have each and every week on the ESO Network or any of the other podcast outlets. And our good friend Tyler Baker, got to thank him for stopping by from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast, and check out his show each and every week on the Pop Culture Cosmos as well. My friend, Star Citizen, tell you what, I know you didn't really have the great lowdown, and I always don't have all the latest and greatest information on it either, so I had to do some research. But it is something that every now and then just pokes a hole into the news stream and just gives you updates on what's going on with this big, I guess, a very, very ambitious game, so to speak, because it's a game that combines elements of space travel, space fighting with other spaceships and things of that nature, and then also trying to go ahead and almost like a Star Wars deal where you can battle on the ground and also from a first person standpoint, but also going ahead, like I said, into space, fighting off battalions and things of that nature. If you want to get a chance, we have been showing on the Game Source Facebook page, we've been actually showing off the latest trailers from Star Citizen because they recently had a convention, which is kind of unusual for a game that's not even technically out yet, which is only in certain forms of alphas and things of that nature at this point in time. I think we're up to alpha 3.3 when it went out to some of the test servers. Your thoughts on this game, my friend, because they have garnered, they're living basically, they're not a private entity that's going on working on this game based off the revenue from another game or whatnot. This is done all by crowdfunding, and they're now up to 195 million, getting close to 200 million sometime in the next couple months here. Your thoughts on Star Citizen? It's a very ambitious game. It's got a all-star cast including Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, Gary Oldman, Mark Strong, Liam Cunningham, John Rhys-Davies, Ben Mendelsohn, Henry Cavill, and even more. Is this game going to be able to live up to its expectations? Is this game too ambitious? Because it looks to me from all facets that this game is going to be wildly successful and a big time awesome game, or it's going to be a massive failure like nothing we've ever seen before.
I think we're speaking in hypotheticals that are assuming that this game is ever going to be released. It looks the cinematic is beautiful, and like we talked a bit before the show. You're telling me how it's not just a flight sim; it also has a first person shooter element to it. And that's cool. I could get on board with that if it's just a space flight game. I don't do those. I'm not good at them. I'm not coordinated enough. So I was really stoked on the trailer until that was the only bit of gameplay that I saw. As for the actors, like this is kind of it's kind of huge, and a game that has that much star power is being crowdfunded is even more amazing to me. So it's all we were talking about how much money they raised, and they raised quite a bit. So I would hope that they would make this game, but who knows if we're ever going to see it, and then you have to worry about it still a game this big, if it gets as much momentum as people think it's going to get. You still have the whole thing with is a developer going to pick it up, and what's going to happen with that? Like, creating a game is not just going from the crowdfunding cycle to release. Like, there's a lot that goes on in between those things, especially a game of this caliber, because who's to say they haven't recorded all the voice acting already? They need to keep paying Mark Hamill and Mark Strong and those people. And I am definitely impressed by what I saw, but again, like, video games, man, you don't know something like this. Maybe it'll be released years from now. Maybe it'll be released soon. Maybe it might never be released. There's nothing is ever set in stone with video games until it is.
Well, the other reason why it just never stays on the radar for us is because they don't promote it or don't update it through traditional methods. I mean, we don't see it at E3. We don't see it at Tokyo Game Show. We don't see it at the Paris Games Week. We don't see it at PlayStation, at PSX. We don't see it at CES or any of those, really. We only see updates from the actual company themselves, the site itself, and stuff like what went on this past weekend with CitizenCon, is what they call it, which was a conference devoted to Star Citizen. So it's kind of weird. Like I said, and the game is not even out yet, and they're already having conventions, which it just tells you about the legions of fans that are already on board. But that's just hardcore fans that are willing to already contribute financially to it. Just imagine if it actually this type of ambitious game actually gets released upon to the wild. What kind of really just individuals that can go out there, because it really hasn't been put out and shown off really to any extent to a casual marketplace. So the casual gamer that's out there, or the individual that's out there that just goes ahead and plays games every 2, 3, or 4, times a year, or maybe they just play Fortnite or whatnot. They haven't really been introduced to Star Citizen, because, and I'll bet you, if I asked 10 casual gamers, maybe 2, maybe 3 might know what Star Citizen is, which really tells you there's so much love for it now. Just think of how big it could be of a success if it's just even a decent game that comes out.
Yeah, it's a good point, because every game has its hardcore fan base. A game like this, it surprises me that they're not doing more to market it to a bigger audience just because of the star power it has. Like, if it didn't have any of these actors in it, that'd be a whole different story. Like, I could totally see it going under the radar. But if they finish it and it ends up being good, I E3 is the place to go, or PAX, or the Xbox conference coming up in I want to say May or June. Find a stage, find something. Don't just put out internet videos, because this could be huge. But again, like you said, it's just, how are they going to market it to mass audiences and not just to the hardcore fan base?
By that time, they could have well over 300 to 400 million in crowdfunding for the game when it finally comes out, which they could utilize towards not only, like you're talking about, publishing issues or publishing items that could come up as far as anywhere in the world, distribution, things of that nature, but also marketing. And they could have all that money in the get-go, because people are so rabid and so desperate for it as far as that hardcore fan base. But word will get out if it has a large enough budget, as far as on the marketing end, that could really get out why this game could be really special. And that's what I want to see, is E3 or any other point in time where this game that has tried non-traditional methods of trying to promote its game to fans now try some traditional methods and basically try to integrate, try to intertwine the two with some form of hybrid type of marketing that is successful on both ends in getting the hardcores that have followed them from day one, but try and introduce it to a new crowd that will just basically that will step in and try to become a part of the Star Citizen fan base as well. So I'm excited for it. It looks pretty good. The cinematic scenes and what I've seen from the battle and the gameplay seems to be warranting a very solid outing. I'm very excited for it, and I'm hoping that everyone out there will be as well once they get word of what it truly is. Once again, if you just look out Star Citizen on our Game Source Facebook page or on YouTube or what have you to take a look and see what this is all about. Again, there's a major all-star cast. They're sparing no expense on that point. From what I see in the graphics, they're really doing a great job there as well. I only hope it gets put and my only hope is that everything gets put all together nice and neatly and it fits all together or works as far as a great narrative, awesome graphics, and a great storyline, a great gameplay that we can follow through from beginning to end that will keep us entranced in Star Citizen for a long, long time.
Yeah, and as we've discussed in episodes past, video games, especially ones still in development, have an infinite possibility for disappointment. So, whether that comes in the form of the game being bad or the game never seeing the light of day, we're talking about scale bound proportions. Uh, we'll have to wait and see, man. I hope the game's good. I hope it gets some more press. But it if they don't find a way to market it to a mass audience, I don't see it being worth the money they put into it. So I'm gonna end with that, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure we're gonna be talking about this again soon.
I know at some point I know at some point we will, but this hybrid of action game where it looks like it's going to be a big time narrative driven game, also as well with a lot of combined with a lot of space action out combined with a lot of action out there in space, but also on the ground in a first person mode. It has me really excited that this could be something that can compete with the Call of Duties, with the Battlefields, with so many others of these same type of ilks that we are so used to seeing one after another after another after another year after year after year. Star Citizen can come in there and really show them what it's all about. And I hope so because so many people have invested so much money into this game. I'm hoping that for once in the video game marketplace, it can truly pay off well and that we can all become a true Star Citizen. What are your thoughts on Star Citizen? Are you excited for it? Do you even know about it? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to go ahead and start putting some things out there on Star Citizen every now and then for Pop Culture on our Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source Facebook pages so we can educate you a little more and get you up to speed on what's going on with Star Citizen. Josh, before we head on out, it's been a great episode, but got to talk to you about Akira, its 35th anniversary here. Such an outstanding film, and basically the reason why, in my opinion, you got to think of anime as just a true form of art and a genre in and of itself that bleeds so much passion, so much great storytelling and narrative driven concepts. Your thoughts on Akira as it hits 35, and are you going to get that box set? That retails now right around $130. 35th anniversary with all the manga and all the other stuff that's attached to it. That obviously the Blu-ray and whatnot. But yes, are you showing that to you got us all excited? How excited are you for now that Akira is 35 years old?
I'm excited that it's left the legacy that it has. I wish that more people would watch it though. When I recommend it to people, they either don't watch it or it takes them months and months to watch it and they still don't understand it. But someone I showed it to recently actually really liked it. They're like, I didn't know anime was this good. So that's cool. as for Akira, like that was kind of I'm pretty sure I watched Dragon Ball Z first. That was the first anime I saw, but Akira was the first like gritty anime that I ever watched, and it was kind of the gateway drug for me, if you will, that made me want to dive into a lot of the other series that are out there. So I love it. Obviously, you can see I got that wall scroll over there. That's it's my baby. Uh but yeah, as for the box set, I do like I'm ashamed to say this, but I've never read the manga and I really want to. From what I understand, Akira, the movie is based on I want to say the 8th volume in the series or just one book in the series. So I really want to go back and get the rest of the story. I just haven't had a chance to. So it's on my to read list. So I'm, maybe during the holidays I'll pick them up and go through and we could talk about them. But I love the movie. Honestly, like it's probably in my top 10 favorite movies. And I'm glad as a kid I got the opportunity to see it, and I own the collector edition Blu-ray that came out, I want to say 5 years ago. But yeah, dude, Akira is amazing. The writing's great, the animation's great, and it's very emotional too. And that's something you don't get a lot in modern anime. But I ask you this: what are your thoughts on Akira?
To me, I've told you this before. To me, it defines what anime is all about. It's a true piece of art, a true work of art in and of itself. If there's any bit of anime that anybody asks me, okay, if I'm not familiar with anime, where should I go to first? I say go to Akira. But the only thing is, I've also told you this: once you go to Akira, it's hard to appreciate to the fullest extent anything else like that, because you've seen the greatest that I think anime has to offer. It's so hard to put anything else near or at its level, in my opinion, because even with stuff like what you talk about with Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop, and so much others, Outlaw Star, and so much others, that it's hard to even get close, in my opinion, to the wonders that Akira represents, because it is just so well done. It's just so good, and it just is so appealing, and it has aged so well over the course of 35 years that I think there's nothing else that compares to it within the anime genre. One last thing to ask you, my friend, when it comes to Akira,
Yeah.
yes, not talking about if you're going to buy that box set. So I'll let you deal with that on your own, man. Yeah, it's up to you if you want to dish out that over $100.
And donate to Pop
Exactly.
Culture Cosmos at patreon.com.
Exactly. I mean, that's why we have Patreon, just for your anime habit. But anyways, want to ask you this. There is still in possible production at some point in time a live action anime, a live action reimagining of Akira. Your thoughts on doing that? Your thoughts on if that should happen, take place? I'm not a big fan of it, and I just think it would send a bad sign for them to complete it, to do it, because I don't think it could be anywhere near as successful as the anime. And I also think it could also soil the name of the actual movie itself and lead others away from actually ever watching or experiencing the great Akira movie.
Yeah. See, I want it to happen and I don't want it to happen. I more don't want it to happen, but I want it to happen because if it gets put in the hands of a good filmmaker and it's not all CG like like a Speed Racer or whatever, which is actually not that bad on the fourth or fifth watch, but um yeah, I just like I would love to see how somebody who actually like Dennis Villeneuve, I would love to see like I feel like he's a high caliber filmmaker that could handle something like Akira. But, a part of me is also thinking that this is gonna sound bad, but audiences just aren't smart enough these days to understand Akira. I barely understood it when I saw it at age 12. So I don't I think it's one of those storylines that is so complex and it's something a formula they've been trying so hard to repeat in modern animes, just throwing these like weird storylines out there and hoping that everyone's like, "Oh, I don't get it, but it sounds really smart." So we're just gonna say that this is good. People have been trying to copy Akira for years, and you see it in all kinds of modern anime. But I don't think that it would translate well into a live action thing, especially with what's that old acronym that they used to say in filmmaking? KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
That's correct.
Yeah, I my fear would be I would love to see it happen, but my fear would be that people wouldn't understand it, and like you said, it would maybe turn people off of the whole thing in general.
I agree with you. I think it's play with. I agree with you. I think it's playing with fire, but I also think they're trying to recapture the magic, and it just when stuff like that happens, or when film companies try to go ahead and reimagine animated features into a live action format, it doesn't always work. Yes, it works with some of the Disney properties that they're going through now, and they liked what happened with the Jungle Book and whatnot so much that they're now going ahead and doing their process with Dumbo and and the list goes on with that. Aladdin, Dumbo, Aladdin, and the list goes on and on. I'm just saying you're playing with fire, and at some point in time, you're going to get burnt, and it could be something. It could be with something like Akira, because that movie is just so good, so memorable, so outstanding that I don't think it should be tarnished in such a fashion. But we'll wait and see. Hopefully, we'll be proven wrong and actually have something good on the screen to represent Akira well, because Akira deserves it. And after 35 years, it just goes to show you the lasting power of Akira and how brilliant it truly is, and how brilliant it truly is for the anime genre. What are your thoughts on Akira? Do you love it as much as we do? Do you really appreciate it now that it's in its 35th year? Or have you even seen it yet and would like to or not like to? Let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. My friend, it's been another great episode. Any last thoughts on the way out?
Yeah, on next week, if we have some time, I do want to talk about The Haunting of Hill House because I got to the end of that yesterday and I love it, man. I absolutely, the writing was great, the cinematography was great. If you have a chance and you want to hear us, you want to check out the show before we talk about it, do it. But yeah, I do definitely want to say some words about it.
Then we'll say it on the Monday show, man. We'll say it, and hopefully you'll be able to elaborate why it's such a can't miss project and another great show from Netflix. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.